Claim your next travel destinations. Today we're going to be talking about how to rewrite any negative, unfavorable stories that you have about specific locations around the world using my favorite, the I am technique, which helps to change your experience in reality super fast. So if you've got a trip coming up, use this technique first in order to set your experience up first before you go. That's what we're doing today. Stick around. If you would like support stepping into the starring role of your life movie, I am available for one-to-one law of assumption coaching, where we will look at the specific stories you are telling in the specific areas of your life, and we will change them so that you can experience a much better reality. You are the star of the movie anyway, so you don't need it, but sometimes we forget, so it is good to have support if that is something that you would like. I am here to support you in telling yourself the best stories and having the best possible experience you can have while you are in this amazing physical body. You'll find those details in the box below this video or at my website, youaretheone.com.au. I also have a free 21-day Set Yourself Up with the Ultimate Self-Concept course. You'll find those details below, or at my website, youaretheone.com.au. I feel like I'm repeating myself, so let's just get into today's topic. So the reason I wanted to make this video is because as the world opens up to travel again, obviously a lot more of us are traveling again. And I myself have a trip planned in June where I will be traveling to Paris, to France, and then Italy, because a friend of mine or friends of mine are getting married in France at the end of June. So I'll be taking a couple of weeks off these videos to go and celebrate their marriage, which will be fun. However, the reason that I wanted to make this video is because now that I'm working with Law of Assumption, I remembered that I have been to Paris a couple of times and I have an interesting relationship with Paris. I wrote a book called Finding Paris. I have had a number of interesting experiences in Paris. So I wanted to look at the story that I tell about Paris now and start to rework those assumptions in preparation for my trip in June. So now that I understand law of assumption and I understand how the game works, I wanted to share with you what I'm doing so that you could do this too if you have a trip planned that is coming up. I used to be a huge traveler. Like, I was running all over the world, mostly to avoid myself, which I didn't know at the time, but thanks to law of assumption, that is no longer the case. And I actually haven't felt like going anywhere. I really haven't had the travel bug because I've just been so content to be where I am and be in my new home and be with my dog. So this will be my first trip since 2019, which is huge for me. I have never gone that long without some kind of overseas trip. Obviously, I'm very grateful to be in that position to have that, because I know that that's not everybody's situation. So I am very grateful to be in that position, but I haven't even wanted to go traveling in that time either. Now that the world is opening up and people are traveling again, I now know law of assumption, and you now know law of assumption. And the thing with travel is, especially if you have been to a place before, if you are going to be traveling, ask yourself, have you been to this place before? And what has been your experience of this location? Was it favorable? Was it unfavorable? Depending on the answer to that question, you may have some assumptions that are running in opposition to the experience that you want to have in that location. So for me, based on past experiences that I have had in Paris, I have to do some work on some assumptions that I have about this city. History does repeat itself if you don't change the story, and that has been my experience with Paris. Now, the other thing that is interesting, now that I'm preparing to head to Paris, I'm becoming aware of Paris. And what's happening in Paris now is there are some protests and there's some violence going on. Now, what I'm seeing in Paris is not fixed. It doesn't have to remain that way, but I've got to do the work within myself. So there is some conflict within me about Paris, and that is why I'm seeing it in my reality. Otherwise, I wouldn't see it. And there are people for which that is not in their reality. They're not even aware of it. And you said, oh, have you heard what's going on in Paris? And they'll be like, no idea, because it's not in their reality. So anything that is in your reality about a certain specific location must exist first within you. It may be related to past events. I was talking to a client of mine who lives in Los Angeles, and when the earthquake happened in Syria and Turkey, that actually triggered the memories that they experienced of earthquakes in LA. And that's what they have to work on, to change the stories, revise the assumptions that LA is on the fault line and LA has earthquakes. That is very much part of the cultural assumptions of living in LA. But consciousness comes first. Remember, consciousness is the cause of reality. Consciousness and reality are one. But consciousness is greater than reality because consciousness is the cause of reality. So even though there might be certain realities in our world, they are subject to changes in consciousness. Anything in our physical reality is subject to change in consciousness, no matter how big or small it may be, no matter how massive and out there and separate to us it may seem. Anything that exists in our reality must first exist within consciousness. And the countries and the cities that are also in your reality that you may be traveling to and that you are having certain experiences in are not fixed. They are up for change, but you do not change it outside yourself. You go in. So I am using the I am technique with Paris. So first of all, I'm actually writing out what are my current assumptions about Paris. And then I'm looking at them going, okay, is that going to set me up to have a favorable experience? And I can tell you, no, it's not, because of my past experiences. So once I've got those assumptions, all I'm doing is I'm just rewriting them. Now, this does not have to take a lot of time. It only seems like it does because I'm talking about it. And of course, the motivation is to have the experiences that you want to have. So I'm willing to invest the time in recreating these stories because those stories are shit. I don't want to repeat them. I don't want to have those experiences. So I'm going to do as much as I can to set myself up to have the experience of my choosing, not an experience that's based on past events or past assumptions. No way. I am not bound to my past, and I will absolutely put the time and effort into recreating those stories. And yeah, it means you've got to sit down and do some work. Sit down with a notebook and pen and figure out, okay, what are my current assumptions? Are they favorable? Are they unfavorable? Oh, guess what? Wow, they're unfavorable. Well, I'm just going to rewrite them and change them into false assumptions. Remember, every new reality begins with a false assumption. You cannot have a new reality without first having a false assumption. A false assumption is not wrong. It's just an assumption that is not yet in reality. Therefore, you have no evidence of it. And evidence is experience with the five senses. That's all evidence is. So if you want to experience something you've never experienced before, which of course you can, you have to hold the assumption first. That's why it's a false assumption. So you want to set up false assumptions about the places that you're going to, especially if you've had unfavorable experiences with them, and then revise any unfavorable events that you may have had at those places or in those places. Revising just means recreating the unfavorable memories. What should have happened instead? What would you like to have happened instead? It's super, super simple. This stuff is super simple and fun because, of course, you're not only imagining what you want to experience, but you're also revising the unfavorable memories where you go, oh my God, of course I can change it. It's just a memory. Memories aren't fixed. The event is dead and over, but the memory of the event is very much alive. And if that's unfavorable, then that does remain active in consciousness, and that is more likely to reproduce your reality because your subconscious is always producing the dominant assumption. So if you have not changed or revised the past events, they will play out. That's how history repeats itself. So unless you want history repeating itself, I would suggest looking at your travel destination and asking yourself, have I got any past experiences with this particular destination? Are they unfavorable? Write out what those assumptions might be, recreate any unfavorable memories, and then use the I am technique. I am Paris and I am peaceful. I am calm. I am welcoming. I am friendly. I am Paris and I am warm and I am sunny. And I am Paris and I am exciting and happy and full of new and fun adventures and whatever else the story wants to be. I get to choose. You get to choose. I am is the quickest and fastest way to dissolve any distance between yourself and something outside of yourself or someone outside of yourself. So the I am technique is super, super powerful. You can use it with not only a person or objects, but you can also use it with cities and countries. So I am Paris, I am France, and I am whatever I want the story to be. This is the work that we are doing. You are not bound to your past. You are not bound to your past experiences, and you are not bound to those past assumptions based on those experiences. But you have to be willing to do the work, to look at and be curious as to what might be going on in your subconscious. And I would suggest do this prior to every trip you take so that you set yourself up with the best possible story to have the best possible experience in this wonderful destination that you are going to, and to really have the best time, because this is why we're here, to have the most amazing adventure and to know that we are the cause of the adventure. So take that and do with it what you will. I hope it helps. As always, please remember that you are the amazing creators of your reality. You are the superstar of your show. You are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor in your movie. What you assume to be true will be so. So assume the best for you. Assume the best for everyone in your movie too, and you will have an amazing time. And this is my wish, my vision, and my prayer for you and for me too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments, which I love. Please keep them up. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I'd love to have you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.